Hey everybody, Curt here. Today I want to go over some of my gear choices for the Appalachian Trail. So stick around and we're going to look at a few things and kind of show you what I'm starting with. Okay, so this is going to be the rundown of what I'm going to be starting the Appalachian Trail with next week. First and foremost, for pack, I've chosen the Z-Packs R-Call. It's a 60 liter. It's lightweight, it's comfortable for me. We've gone with a Dyneema pack liner, so hopefully between the pack and the liner and then everything else, the things that we want to keep dry, going to be able to keep them dry. So have added the Y strap to it because, as you can see up here, bear with me, added a Y strap to it for carrying the Nemo pad and my tent, which I plan to carry outside the pack, at least till we get through some of the cold weather stuff. So 60 liter Z-Packs R-Call for the pack. One other thing to note on my pack that hadn't really shown is my little memory patch in memory of Don Wall. River to River Trail, that's a trail that runs across the southern part of Illinois here. 157 miles, runs from the Ohio to the Mississippi. Don was a friend of mine that was through hiking the River to River Trail, had knocked out 142 miles in 7 days, pitched camp, and was to hike out and catch a ride the next morning, and never made it to his pickup point. They found him a day or so later, still in his tent, and he had passed away on the trail. So, in memory of Don, I'll be taking the patch with me. Back for the quilt, which is right here, I've gone with a UGQ 20 degree Bandit. Did all the overstuff, had it custom made. Very happy with it. I've had the quilt for several years and see no reason to replace it. It keeps me warm on some of the coldest nights. I've slept out to almost down into the negatives with it. Not saying that it was comfortable, but it was enough to where I was able to sleep and I didn't freeze to death. So I know my limits on my quilt, so that's a good thing. One thing that we have added, the next thing that we're looking at is on the tent. We've gone with a Big Agnes UL Tiger Wall 3. I'll be carrying the tent and the fly. Angie's going to be carrying the stakes and the poles, so we'll be sharing the weight on that. Comes out to about 1.5 pounds a piece when we share the weight on it. So that's going to work out really good. And then for our sleep system, we have added the Nemo switchback. We added that when we decided to go from a flip-flop to a straight Nobo starting in Georgia. Since we're starting earlier, chance of colder weather, we've added a little bit more cold weather gear than what we were originally planning to start with. So the Nemo switchback, the Big Agnes UL Tiger Wall 3, and then for inflatable pad, we've gone with the Thermarest Neo Air NXT Max. It's I believe a 7.2 R value, so paired with the foam pad, plenty of R value there for the coldest nights. Still debating on the micro spikes. It's starting to warm up. We may skip these. Basically about 1 pound here that I'm trying to decide whether to take or whether not to take. It's probably going to be a last minute decision. If I do take them, I plan on sending them home probably after we get through the Smokies. So they're not going to be, if I do take them, they're not going to be carried for very long anyway. So a lot of it just depends on what we get down to pack weight when we get ready to leave. For water and filtration, of course, going with the Sawyer Squeeze. I've used these for years. They've served me well. I have no complaints with them. Paired with a smart water bottle, that's about all I carry really on most hikes. So with doing the AT, I've heard so many people talk about the Cenox for water collection because they open flat. This is rated for from 0 to 212 degrees, so you can actually put boiling water in it, use it for a hot water bottle. What I plan to do with it is probably carry it and fill it up for camp use. The top just comes off, opens up, and it'll open flat. So check those out if you haven't. I'm kind of excited to see how that's going to work out for us. And then I've got my insulated pouch for hydrating meals. That's big enough for the 2 serving size Mountain House. Put the boiling water in there. The pouch itself is going to retain some heat, and then when you put it in this, it'll retain even more heat. Kind of a fuel saving. It's around just barely an ounce, so it's not a lot of weight. For eating, I've got my trusty Toke's titanium spoon. I've carried that for years. It's been a trusty little spoon. I can't complain with it. For a kitchen kit, what I've went with is it's a 750 milliliter Toke's. Inside I can fit my lighter. I've got my stove, which I carry. I've used a BRS 3000 I've used it for years and not had any problems with it. Is it the most efficient? No, but it's super light and it does what I need it to do. Basically, I'm just heating water, so, and then I wrap my canister in a handkerchief to kind of keep it from clanging around, and everything fits nice and tidy into my pot there. One thing that I have added is this little thing. It's a little insulated mug. I think it's 2 or 3 ounces, and it'll be good for hot tea, coffee, anything else, and it seems to work well. The cup itself, or the pot itself, you know, if it's cold outside, once you take it off the fire, it just seems to start cooling down a lot quicker. Plus, you've got the, you know, you got to have something insulated, which I do have an insulated koozie for it. Still debating whether or not to take that or not. That's one of the anti-gravity gear that I ordered from them. The pouch I ended up making, so, you know, just whatever a person wants and is going to work for them. For me, it works, and I've got 12 ounces, somewhere around a pound tops on my kitchen, so not complaining about weight at all on that. And then for some of the other things that I'm looking at here, I've got my food bag, which carrying a food bag instead of a bear canister. I've actually got a Barricade bear canister, but just with the adding 2 more pounds to it with where I'm at on weight, I've kind of started cutting back on some things, making some choices to save some weight so my overall pack out doesn't get too out of hand or too crazy. With the for my puffy, I just added this. It's a Mountain Hardware Ghost Whisperer UL, one of the 1000 fill. It's like a 7-ounce jacket. I love it, but the problem with it is I bought it last year, and over the last 6 months or so, I've put on a few pounds, so it doesn't fit me the way that I want it to. So because of that, what we ended up doing is I bought a Decathlon. I've seen a lot of good reviews on them. They're cheap. So this is a Decathlon down, and, you know, $100 jacket. So far, I've been really impressed with it. It's not as light as what the Ghost Whisperer is, but after I get hiking, drop a few pounds off, probably send this one home, and I can have my other one sent out to shave a little bit of weight off. So just one of those things you got to kind of do. You got to kind of do what's going to work. For base layer, merino wool. This is a 1/4 zip long sleeve merino wool, and then merino wool bottoms. I've went with the Black Ovis. I've used them for years. They're merino wool. They're very price effective. They work. They're comfortable, and they've served me well. So I don't see a reason to go out and spend a crazy amount of money for some of the big name hiking gear. You know, when you've got stuff like that that's going to work. I've got two buffs here. One is a polar buff, which is for a little bit colder weather. And then this is just a really super light merino buff. So depending on, how cold it is, how much wind you need to block out, I'll go between them two. Both of them are super light. And then I am going to go ahead and take off with a pair. I've decided that I've hiked in Altras for years. And with the colder weather, I was kind of concerned because my feet do get cold in cold weather if I get down below 30 degrees or in snow with trail runners. So what I've ended up doing, I've decided I am going to go ahead and go with trail runners this year instead of starting with boots. I'll just go with the Altra Trail Runners. So I'm going to carry a pair of these NRS water socks. It's a neoprene sock for snow, cold weather, and what I've tried them out, they seem to work fairly well. So I've been pretty happy with them. For a beanie, I've got a Smart Wool Merino beanie. It serves me well. I really like that. I'll use a buff for hiking. The beanie will be more for when I take a break or, camp. So that way I can keep it dry and I don't get it all sweaty. Couple pair of gloves. I've got a super light pair of, these are CTR. Picked them up at REI. They've got the little fingertips on them to where, you can text, check your phone or whatever without taking your glove off. And then I've got a heavier pair of gloves. This is a Sealskins. It's a waterproof glove. They've served me well. They keep my hands dry. Colder weather, between the two of them should work out quite well for me. For headlamp, of course, went with a Nitecore headlamp and a Nitecore. This is a 10 milliamp, and we've got a 20 milliamp as well. So depending on how our weights end up between two of us, because we're going to have two iPhone 15s. Both of us will be doing filming and pictures and everything else. So we want to make sure we have enough power for that. One thing we did add this year is see a lot of these going around, a lot of people talking about them, inflator for the sleep pad. So this is 1.2 ounce is what it says on it. Keep in mind, 1.2 ounce, that is without the battery or the attachment. So once you put all that on there, it's right around 2 ounces. The Thermarest pump sack is about the same weight, maybe just a fraction of an ounce heavier. So all in all, I'll go with this. Just turn her on, blow the pump up. So everything ought to work good with that. I've tried it out and it seems to do well. As far as the Garmin, started to upgrade to a Mini 2. I've had the Explorer Plus for years, and I just did not see to save a couple of ounces where it was worth spending the money to go to a Mini 2. So I'll go ahead and carry my old Garmin. A couple cords. This is just a little short cord that I've got an extender for my phone and my tripod, and then I can put this on and make a complete cord out of it. So I'll explain a little bit more of that later. The Garmin, of course, with it being the older Explorer Plus, I've got to have a separate cord for it. And then the iPhone 15, everything else is USB-C, so don't have a whole lot of cords to go with. I am going with extra pair of socks, just for sake of being able to trade out socks as I go, and an extra pair of liners. So I'll have a pair on, I'll have 3 pair in my bag, I'll have a pair of liners on, and a pair of liners in my bag. So hopefully I'll be able to kind of swap things out, get them dry before, try to keep from having to put a frozen sock on. Camp shoes, going with my trusty Crocs. They've served me well. They're not super heavy. They work. Camp clothes, I've got a kind of a waffle knit Mountain Hardwear fleece, and then a pair of REI pants. Couple dry bags here. This is basically my, I've got my first aid kit, toilet kit, everything else in there. And then I've got another Dyneema dry bag that I'll put my clothes in that I'm packing. So pretty much that's a rundown on everything that I'm going to be carrying. For rain gear, ended up, I think I'm going to go with the Frog Togs, trying to save weight. The Frog Togs are lighter than my Gore-Tex. I'm one of those people to where once I get moving, I'm going to be wet regardless. So I don't see, it's going to block, the Frog Togs will block the wind. I've used them before. I don't really see a big benefit between the Gore-Tex or the Frog Togs. If they're not working for me, I can always, pitch them and have my Gore-Tex sent out. But for now, trying to save weight because my Gore-Tex is several ounces heavier than the Frog Togs, I'm going to go ahead and start with Frog Togs and see how that works. One thing I did want to kind of show was my mount, and this is what I'm going to be using for video. So this is about right at a pound. And what I've went with is I've went with the Joby Gorilla tripod, which I found very versatile, and then added a Moment MagSafe mount. And then on top of it, we're going with a Rode mic. This one, of course, you've got the windsock on it. And what's happened is with the attachment where it plugs into your phone, with the cover on my phone, it will not plug in. So I've had to get an extension cord. So when I put my phone on the MagSafe, this will come around and it's got a USB-C on this end, and then it's got a male on this end for USB-C. So that's kind of an extender. And so far it works out really good. I really weighed out, looking at selfie sticks, everything else on what to use for video. And the selfie sticks were just so, the Bluetooth mechanisms and everything was so cheap. What I ended up doing was I went with this thing. And this is a Joby shutter release that I can take and just put on my pack. It hooks Bluetooth to the phone, and then I can use my tripod and not have to worry about it. So anyway, that's kind of the rundown of what I've got. We're set to leave out next Thursday. We're leaving the house. So I've got a week to make a couple decisions on a few things, but for the most part, this is a rundown on it. With 4 days of food, water, and everything you see here, last weekend packed out, and it was right at 25 pounds. So I think we're not doing too bad for weight, considering, adding a few extra things there for cold weather. And as we go, I've got a lighter quilt as we get into summer that we'll switch out, and may drop the foam pad and tweak a few things out. Hopefully get under 20 when we do that. So anyway, that is kind of the rundown. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys out on the trail.